Hey Earth signs, welcome to 8 of Cups. So Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. I did a reading for you guys to kind of get an idea of the energy you're going to be dealing with during this full moon that occurs tomorrow. It's a full moon in Libra, and it's a substantial full moon because it's actually the end of a very long cycle. As we talked about for every video ever, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that occurred in January. It put an end to the older cycle, which was a Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Libra. And that had a lot to do with structures within relationships. And so for the past 38, 35, 38, 40 years or so, we've been in a certain mode of dealing with relationships and partnerships in our life, connections. Now this could be any kind of relationship, business partnerships, friendships, children, whatever it is. But Libra is always the energy of a partnership. And so this is the first full moon that occurs out of that Pluto Saturn cycle. So it's freer than it's ever been before, this energy. And so I think what happens with this full moon is that before we start to create the new beginnings, which will occur at the end of the month, as the sun moves into Taurus and the I'm sorry, I'm completely drawing a blank. As the sun moves into Taurus, Mercury moves into Aries, we get a little more movement towards actually bringing things into the 3D. Right now, during this moon, we're still working through subconscious stuff. But this is the ending of a cycle, and how we're going to go about the new cycle, how that gets rebirthed either in current relationships or in new relationships. There's still a level of facing fears that has to occur now in order for us to gain ground. If there's anything lurking in the depths that the purging of the South Node in Capricorn didn't take care of, this full moon is the moment. If there's relationships that are hanging on for a thread and they're not for your greatest good, they're probably going to break up. If there's a job that you dread every day, something may happen and you may end up losing that job. I mean, these are kind of defining moments for us where old cycles are brought to an end so the new stuff can come in. Now, they could be things in the 3D world, like the jobs, like the money, or they could be more on a subconscious level in our mind and our emotions and how we're willing to partner with people. I see a lot of this playing out in the fear of being vulnerable across the board, every sign. I think we're in an environment where we're being asked to step up in our emotional investments. We're being called to the table. If we're doing a lot of, well, why can't this person talk to me? Why can't this person commit? Why can't this person make me a solid offer for this job? If there's frustration or things that you don't see clarity in, just know that the frustration you're seeing others is something that's lurking deep within you as well. And that you may just be mirroring each other. If you're in a phase in your relationship, a rough period where you're starting to feel resentment and animosity for each other, the other person may just be playing as a mirror for you to see, kind of reflecting the way that you act. If somebody's acting cold towards you, you might want to check and make sure that you're not, in fact, being extremely cold to them first. It's just kind of a check-in, I think, relationship-wise. And I think it's also kind of what you get, what you give is what you get. Libra is all about balance. So whatever you're willing to work for in any type of relationship in your life, whatever you're willing to invest, the other person is going to match you, or they're not going to match you, and you're going to know it's a waste of time. But in Libra, everything has to be fair. Everything has to be on the table, predetermined, planned out. Saturn and Pluto together in Libra kind of caused a level of needing boundaries. Maybe having to fit some kind of a societal, checklist in some ways. And now we may be breaking out. We may be connecting to unusual relationships, inviting different types of people. There may be a blurring of the societal norms where, there could be tremendous age differences in your relationship, and you learn to work around that. It's just changing your beliefs in society. Maybe you only dated a certain type of person for the past 35 years, and you wake up one day and you realize it's not really working for me. It hasn't worked yet. I'm going to try somebody completely different, and then that works out. See, we have transformed, whether we want to admit it or not. And so relationships either have to transform and grow with us, or they have to fall away so the new things can be created. And so now this full moon is kind of the make or break, kind of the, are we going to do this next thing together? Or is this where our story ends? And I wish you the best of luck and lots of love, and let's go on our separate journeys. That's a lot of the energy right now, and it has us in a need to step into our fears a little bit, to stand up for ourselves, to create healthier boundaries, to come at relationships with a level of self-love and self-respect that maybe we didn't before. So you're coming out as a Knight of Cups. And the atmosphere is the Priestess. This card just keeps coming up. The Priestess. One of the things about this moon is that it's in very good aspect with, it's actually squaring Uranus. So through opposition, through friction, through frustration, I think because we keep bumping up against the wall, we are obviously meant to figure out how to break down the wall, right? Knight of Cups, this could be you. You could be wanting to extend an offer to someone. Or it could be someone you're close to and they want to extend an offer of love to you. It's a cup, so it's some form of love, familial, friendly, it's more of a personal relationship type of love. The Priestess tells me that either you're being intuitively guided at this time, and that there's just simply, you're in the dark. There's a lot that you're unsure of at this time. The Knight of Cups can be very romantic. He could be that knight in shining armor. So it could be if you're in some kind of a situation in which you're hoping some kind of a Hail Mary, somebody comes to save you type of thing when all else is lost hope, someone comes in at last minute, and that could very well be this energy of like a saving grace. But I think before you get there, there's a lot that has to be uncovered. Black Moon, Lilith, and Venus. Now, throughout this reading, there's actually two very distinct stories that keep coming to me. So there's going to be a level of duality. So you kind of have to take what applies to you, what resonates, and leave the rest. Please do not assume that I'm telling you stuff you don't already know. That's not the point of this reading. If you're in a relationship and you know that somebody has cheated on you, then this part of the story will apply to you. If you are in a relationship in which you don't know how to proceed and a whole lot of fears are coming to the surface, they are just fears, not facts, then that is your situation. I think that if there was a deceitful thing that happened, you already know about it. I do not feel as though that's the kind of information that's going to come out at this full moon. I think that Black Moon Lilith is really asking you, how much have you healed from your past? Black Moon Lilith tends to simmer her anger. So if you've had a 40-year cycle of really awful relationships and you haven't properly dealt with and done the healing that you need, then you're going to carry a whole lot of negative baggage. And so in every relationship that you start, there will be a level of needing to control something, because you cannot surrender fully and you can't trust. Black Moon Lilith is not trusting. And so if you're vulnerable in that Knight of Cups, romantic, I'm taking what's mine, I love it so much, your alter ego might be really afraid of rejection, of disappointment, of deceit. You may be reading too much into the negative side of things, and this moon will really bring up those subconscious fears. Black Moon Lilith, along with Venus, tells me that this is the wall that you need to break down. The Black Moon Lilith is a very cold and revengeful kind of energy. Black Moon Lilith kind of sits and waits for the next person to disappoint her, and then it's like she's always stuck in a cycle of disappointment, and you become a victim. Of course, now Black Moon Lilith didn't become a victim. She became angry and very hurtful and vengeful. And you don't really want to become that person. You know, you don't want to be cold your whole life, because the Venus card tells me that you do very much want love. That there's a level of attraction that you want to participate in. You enjoy companionship. But there's definitely trust issues that are seeping to the surface here. Now, the environment in the past was a relationship that may have been moving extremely fast. 8 of Wands. I like that. 8 of Wands, 4 of Wands. So I think there was a situation, maybe a relationship that started, it took off really, really, really fast and then came to a screeching halt. One scenario. Because Black Moon Lilith is in play, there may have been a lot of triggered fears. There could have been even addiction issues coming to the surface. There was shadow work that definitely needed to be done and healed. Before you could move into a stable energy with anybody else. Now, the 4 of Wands is very much about stability. And it tells me that you're trying to take action towards something that is not quite yet stable. High Priestess, Black Moon Lilith, there's more that you don't know. There's more that you have to do. But staying in that Black Moon Lilith energy could mean missing out on an opportunity. So it's a catch-22, because I think there's a level of urgency and need. But then there's a lot of getting over the fear of going into the unknown. Now, in a certain scenario, and this is kind of very specific, but you may have gotten communication regarding somebody telling you they wanted to end a relationship or a marriage. If that is the case, you are having a very hard time seeing the truth in the matter, and you want to continue to persevere. Now, the High Priestess is telling me that maybe you're sensing there's more to this story. Maybe your person is going through something right now, and you're willing to diligently wait for them to sort through some issues and do their healing. That Seven of Wands, if you look, it's 8, 4, and 7. There's a lot of fire here. So whatever connection this is, there's a lot of passion. And it almost feels divinely guided with the Priestess, the Great Gathering. You've got the Council of Light, which is divine orchestration. I mean, there's a lot in this reading that tells me that there's a pulling together. This may be somebody who's very in and out of your life. And although for all intents and purposes, it seems very unstable. But yet it's the 10 of Cups. It's kind of that thing you can't quite grab in your fingers yet. But either way, the outcome is of great perseverance, that you're willing to fight for this. Now, if you want to take action towards somebody, but you're dealing with the fear of rejection, if you're dealing with a fear of it not working out, if you're too much in past energy, if you're feeling like these situations didn't work out in your past, if you were in a similar situation, or if this is somebody from your past coming back to try to reignite the flame, so to speak, I think that it's going to take a lot of communication, because I don't think that you're seeing the truth. You may be wanting to walk away from a situation because it's very triggering and painful, and you have to get extremely vulnerable, and you have to have those conversations. You have to open yourself up. You may have to confess something. You know, you may have to tell somebody that you did something that you may be ashamed of, that maybe did question your integrity or your commitment to a relationship. Maybe you have to tell somebody the truth, but you have to ask them to work on things with you to make it better. But I do see there's a coming together nonetheless. There is a coming together. There may be energies that you have to work through. There may be a need for forgiveness. Now, you can never reach a 10 of Cups, ever, without a level of forgiveness, right? In all areas of life, what we hope and dream for requires a great level of forgiveness, and a lot of times it's to ourselves. How did I allow myself to get disappointed in the past? How do I forgive myself for all of my other bad judgments? And it's when you come from that level of forgiveness of self that you begin to attract the things to you that are good for you. Again, that mirroring. So if you're always mad at yourself because you choose people that continually disappoint you, you have to not just forgive those people, but you also have to forgive yourself. And that opens up a brand new cycle for you. Now, when I talk about divinely guided, you got the High Priestess, the Great Gathering. It's all coming together. Intuitive hits and your soul tribe. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. And Star Mother, how can you mother yourself? When we talk about all of this divine intervention. There's so much that you're supposed to learn from this situation. It's not just about why do bad things continually happen to me, or why doesn't everything work out. It's much more about you having to reach certain milestones of growth before you're capable of handling the next level of abundance that the universe wants to give you. Now, you know, everybody wants to win $1 million, right? Like, nobody would be like, no, I don't want it. But the idea of really quick success can be really frightening. And I think with the Four of Wands in reverse and the Ten of Cups in reverse with that Black Moon Lilith, again, I'm picking up, and I've been picking up on this in my Earth sign readings, there is a fear of attaining success. It is very below the surface. I think there's a level of, well, if I obtain all of this and I have this, well, then what's next? Then the hard work has to come in. Then I have to think of new dreams, new goals, new visions for the future. And sometimes we get really comfortable in the struggling for it that we don't see when we already have it. So there's a need for gratitude and appreciation as well. Whatever the case might be, I think you know the universe is handing you opportunities to look at it. You know, real obvious opportunities in which you are forced to look at how you address yourself. Do you make decisions out of love, or do you make decisions out of fear? Do you want to go into a relationship because you're afraid to be alone? Or do you want to go into a relationship because you really love somebody? If you look at everything you do in your life as a scenario for one of two things, you do it out of love or you do it out of fear, you have to always be conscious to choose love. It's very simple. If you want to do something kind for somebody, you want to make sure you're doing something kind for someone out of love, not out of expectations. Because doing something out of expectations means you're afraid you won't meet somebody's expectations. You're afraid of someone else's opinion towards you. Again, always the wrong decision. And I think the universe is talking to you very much about doing things from the heart and stepping out of a fear space. And when you step out of that fear space, you begin to see things a lot clearer. A lot clearer because your animal spirit cards are all about clarity. Cosmic Egg and the Beaver. These are all about connections and love. Okay. Cosmic Egg. Completion, harmony, the infinite within the finite. The Cosmic Egg is the final card in the journey of the animal spirit deck, and it represents the unfolding of cosmic consciousness. This state emerges after we have tread the path for quite some time, and through self-effort and grace we experience self-realization. A sense of contentment and oneness spontaneously arises within us, and the veils of our self-limiting beliefs are lifted. When the essence of the cosmic egg has not been activated, we may feel as if we will never get there, or that we travel alone, disconnected from others. Even if our encounter with this card is brief, appearing as a momentary glimmer or flash of interconnectedness, its potent energy stays with us. The cosmic egg is a remedy for the fragmentation of modern life. It's through the power of this card that we are reminded of the cosmic contract written at the beginning. We hold on to life, and life holds on to us. The journey is complete, but it does not end. And then you got the card of the beaver. Hard worker, loyal, tireless, and family first. The beaver personality is a welcome sight. These good-natured and dependable creatures have infinite love and enthusiasm for family and express it by way of the earth element, providing a home and financial stability. Although a beaver doesn't usually initiate a project, once started, they'll work steadily for weeks, months, or years to see it through. The beaver card appears when the task at hand requires your long-term steady effort. It can also signify that it's time for some karma yoga, as in selfless service. And the Star Mother, I just want to touch base with you guys really quick on this card. How can you mother yourself? I think for some of us, and I always pull two cards, and this one like slipped in there. It was like kind of stuck to the other card. It definitely needed to come out. So I wanted to kind of save this for last. Star Mother. How can you mother yourself? So we talked about the idea of reflection. How others are treating you at this time is a symbol of maybe how you feel about yourself. And so with the healing energy that's coming towards us with this moon, you may be relying on others a little too much to provide nurturing that you can give yourself. And that puts a lot of pressure on other people. Now, this situation could be vice versa too. I don't want to, you may be dealing with somebody who's learning how to seek solace and emotional mastery within themselves. And part of that is learning how to nurture and mother yourself. We get really hard on ourselves, especially the earth signs and especially my Virgos. We get real critical with ourselves. Capricorns too, there's always has to be a level of achievement, a feeling of accomplishment every day. And you might be at a time where you're feeling tired. And you have to be able to nurture that part of you. The High Priestess too. If you feel the need to nurture yourself, to withdraw, to go within, you know, I mean, we're all kind of withdrawing at this point, but if you feel the need to take a break from hectic energy, shut the door, take a bath, do what you gotta do, you know, that's a great level of mothering. But I think on a deeper level, we have to look at our past relationships. And again, that level of forgiveness for allowing ourselves to participate in maybe situations and relationships where we put ourselves at harm. We didn't protect ourselves. We accepted less than we deserved. We may have dragged it on too long, but there's definitely a level of forgiveness. And sometimes when we walk away from relationships for years and decades and eons and lifetimes, we could always look back and go, yeah, well, that person was like this, so it was never going to work. There's always two. There's always two energies in a relationship, and you always bring something to the table. And I think part of mothering yourself is looking at the things that you brought to the table and saying, look, I know you made mistakes. And you got to forgive yourself. You got to understand and forgive yourself for what you needed to do or how you needed to feel at that time, and understand that all of your past was just a pathway to get you to right here. And everything really is all about this moment. this moment in the now. It's not about last week, last month, the last boyfriend, the last relationship, you know, the last holiday. It's not about that. I mean, I know in astrology we always talk about cycles and how we learn, but I think right now with this full moon, it's really good to ground yourself in the now and really start to look at what is fact and what is not. Your mind might play tricks on you. You may be feeling really emotionally raw because you really do love somebody and you don't quite know how. And it's leaving you vulnerable. And so this is a really good time for your fears, the Black Moon Lilith, to whisper in your mind just the way the High Priestess would and say, this isn't good for you. They're probably cheating on you. They would never really love you. You're not good enough. You're not young enough. You're not old enough. You don't make enough money. And there could be deception in the fact that those are your fears talking to you and not actually divinity. So if you don't want to pass up on this opportunity in front of you, if there's some kind of communication that needs to occur, or some truth that needs to come to light or be said or told, do not let your fears hold you back from speaking your truth and missing the opportunity, because there's a lot of potential here. This is just concerned energy when they're in reverse. There's a lot of potential for stability and emotional happiness here. And you want to be really careful with this Black Moon Lilith, because she's going to try to point out all the ways in which this would never work. And that is exactly what you are going to persevere through this month, Virgo. I don't know why I almost said Pisces. Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. You're overcoming this old cycle of allowing fears to run your life. And this could be a form of a real spiritual awakening and understanding that there is a higher purpose. And it really all boils down to staying in the now. If you feel skeptical, if you feel like there's secrets, you know, check yourself. What do you know to be fact? Check your breath. Stay in the moment. Don't jump to conclusions, okay? Because that's how we do irreparable damage at this point. When you love yourself and you know you're worthy for love, people pick up on that vibe, and then they love you too at a level that you deserve. So don't let yourself fall back down into this Black Moon Lilith place of, I don't really truly feel like I can accept love, and therefore you create a block, a wall that won't allow you to receive an offer. Careful of that. I think there's potential. I think there's a really beautiful relationship here, and there's just a little bit of healing and loving yourself that needs to be done. And really just knowing the universe has got your back. And trusting that that old cycle that you're fearing to relive is done and over. Okay? All right, guys. I'll be checking in somehow, some way next week in some form. Until then, I really hope that you make the best of this energy. Take care. Bye.